everybody, this is Alchemist 2 and I'm back again with another series review. I just recently watched Year Million. I think this was the final episode of the whole series, but it was called Beyond the Cosmos, and it spoke of light speed and how light speed itself is going to be very challenging for us to achieve. So the only shortcut we have would be to use a black hole, but the whole, pardon the pun, purpose of a black hole other than a shortcut would be, I'm kind of uncertain. You don't really know where you're going to emerge on the other side of a black hole. I mean, you don't really have coordinates like you do here on our planet because we've got sextants and electrical equipment, radar, sonar, and everything else that we could possibly need in order to navigate. Well, when you're in space, you have such a large canvas to paint on, and it just is uncanny to even fathom. And I almost sounded like Mr. Childress there. Some kind of, sorry, I had to, but some kind of alien. Yeah, I don't know why I even decided to get an accent there, but this was a very uplifting episode, although it was very unsettling as well because they talked about speciation, how the human race are so-called meat bodies, as the narrator said. Well, one of the narrators, not the main narrator, but another, I think it was a physicist or futurist who said that we would have to manipulate our DNA in order to survive on other planets. Well, yeah, of course we would. But they had one character come back and she had gills. I thought, oh, that's interesting. To be able to breathe toxic fumes and be able to survive, and it would be very intriguing. There are so many methodologies of us actually traveling to other planets and maybe multiverses where there are other versions of us living other possibilities, probabilities. And I always have had dreams about that, meeting the other versions of myself and saying, how did you become so successful and how can I learn from you? Because I'd love to do that. I don't even know how it is even possible, but if I could, I would. But it talks about the whole idea of it's all theory and it's all surmising, but still it's very tantalizing, I think, to have that kind of information at the palm of our hands, and knowing that we're on the I think we're definitely on the brink with CERN, and CERN is in in the process, and of course they say the Swiss are very precise, so we don't have to worry about them developing a black hole that it just eventually swallows. I mean, entropy. To think of it that way, entropy scares me. But if one world dies, if our whole universe dies, wouldn't another one be born in its place? That's a question that I want everybody to just let that mull over in your mind a little bit, because I think about that too, and I shouldn't, but I do. But yeah, this was a outstanding series. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I don't know why, but I really like the idea of a wormhole, even though it's still that whole uncharted territory kind of scenario. And like I said, you don't have any navigation tools and no GPS to say you are here in Alpha Centauri to stop for a pint at the brewery. Sorry, I had to. Star Trek reference, but but it's very interesting and fascinating, and I don't think I'm going to be around to see it. But should I ever have children, I think that they will, or their children will, or their children will, or their children's children. I don't know how far into the future. I don't even know if we're even going to make it to 3,000 without completely depleting our planet. We're going to have to think of something fast. But, I'm sorry to say that. That's just the way I think. uh, we better start thinking very seriously about these things, because I think that we're at a tipping point, um, just relatively speaking, and it's just a whole paradigm shift that I think we're entering into. And I can tell, I don't know why, I'm more sensitive to these things than other people are, just because I observe and I read and I can feel a lot of changes. I felt changes happening ever since I was 10 years old. And I didn't know what climate change was. I didn't know what global warming was, but I knew that something was wrong. And I kept on saying, I mean, I noticed subsequently every summer became hotter and hotter and hotter. And I told everybody about it. I said, why is that so? I mean, I don't think that's normal, is it? And people just looked at me like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, this, go away. You're just a child. You don't know anything. And I'm thinking, now they're saying, yes, we are a proponent. I was thinking, I told you so. And you didn't believe me. Why didn't you believe me? But it's just one of those moments that I always knew I was right. I hate to say that, but I'm very sensitive about these things. But there are a lot of questions that are left unanswered. And one of my favorite topics, just other than the multiverse whole scenario thing, was dark matter. And I've always been fascinated by dark matter, and three-fourths of our universe is made up of it. And they said it could be the answer to everything. Of course, this is just conjecture, but it could be the amalgamation of what makes theory fact. So, once we figure out how dark matter works, then, the universe is ours. And of course, there's Mandela effect. We know about that, and we know about this thing called Shazam. Apparently, it's weird. She mentioned Shazam. I'm thinking, that sounds familiar. Why do I remember a movie called that? Maybe I was part of that parallel universe, because I remember there being I know it doesn't exist, but I know it's just this weird internet thing, and I think it did. I mean, I really do believe that there was a movie, but nobody wants to admit to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it just seems like there was. Maybe I'm just out there. But when she mentioned it, I thought, I'm not the only one. So I'm not part of that thread, but my goodness, I can't really recall. Maybe I should go on that website and see what it was there actually about, because now I'm really intrigued. Because I can't even believe it. I thought, wow, my life is already supernatural enough. I don't need it to be more supernatural than it already is. But go figure. I'm not normal, but that's about all I have to say about this episode. It's just extremely uplifting, and that's it. So until next time, live long, prosper. Ciao, tutti.